worst environmental disasters in the last 20 years. And former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials have been told they're being charged after a new investigation of the scandal devastated the majority black city with lead-contaminated water and was blamed for a deadly outbreak of Legionnaires disease. At the moment, I'm being joined by Fox 2 Detroit's Roop Raj to break this down, because this is quite stunning, Roop, especially from someone who grew up and was born in Michigan and kind of followed Rick Snyder's rise there in the state back in 2010. He served 2 terms. He was very popular until the Flint Water Crisis, and now, can't believe it, but the AG is thinking of charging him.
So the Attorney General is not just thinking about it, she's going to go ahead and do it. The question, though, Andrew, is when will we actually see these charges come forth? That's a question that Brian Lennon, Rick Snyder's attorney, would like to know as well. Unfortunately, he's not getting a lot of information, and that's unfortunate for Mr. Snyder, the former governor of Michigan, who wants to understand, first of all, what exactly these charges entail. That has not been revealed yet. In fact, Brian Lennon, the attorney for Rick Snyder, says he's a little bit disappointed in the Attorney General's office for not revealing that what the charges are, when they may actually see a day in court. All we do know right now is from the Attorney General's office is that we are going to see a day in court sometime very soon. Dana Nessel's office basically saying that tonight we are putting things together, but we're going to be seeing those court dates come very, very soon. Now, keep in mind, Attorney General Dana Nessel was the new Attorney General who came in, and she basically dismissed the charges when she first came in as the new AG. There's many people in circles right here in Michigan who thought that the way the investigation was being handled of the Flint Water Crisis, there was conflicts of interest, according to some people. There was just not a lot of faith, according to the new administration, that this was handled the right way. And so Dana Nessel said she's going to dismiss the charges instead. She then decides to come forth now with a new set of charges, not only against Rick Snyder, the former governor, but Nick Lyons, one of his senior advisors, and other advisors as well.
You know, and Roop, from someone who was following this back in Michigan when I lived there, you know, it kind of was always understood that kind of people below and underneath the governor at the time would be held accountable, that the governor himself kind of, you know, he had that really contrite interview there, I believe, with Fox 2, and he was very apologetic, but essentially it never was going to come to, you know, charges for the governor himself, which I find quite stunning. And so I wanted just to ask you as well, you know, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but why now all of a sudden? Because I believe early last year, there were a number, I believe 7 officials who were either, you know, implicated and charged in this, and I believe those cases are still going on. So is this just kind of, you know, opening up old wounds there for Flint residents, or holding someone accountable?
Well, if you talk to the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, she'll tell you that the way the investigation was handled in her mind wasn't right. And so she basically went back and collected information, got more of the data, put together her own version of the case as the new sitting AG, and now is saying, look, we have to move forward with these charges. We're going to be hearing about what these charges were, but if history is our teacher, we know in 2018 that Lyon was ordered to stand trial. Remember, Nick Lyon is basically the main health advisor to the governor, and back in 2018, he was ordered to stand trial on involuntary manslaughter charges for not informing the public. Now, that was back in 2018. Then the charges were dropped later on, and now we're hearing that they're coming back, but this time including the governor in that. Now, keep in mind, this all has to do is, when did the governor know what he knew? And this is where there's kind of an issue right now for a lot of people. And here it is. Someone told a judge that an advisor told a judge that he told the governor on Christmas Eve of 2015 that the governor was aware of this. When reporters, including reporters from our station, interviewed him 3 weeks later, he said he just found out about it. And so you got to think about that 3-week period and what the governor may have known at the time. And did he withhold information? Did he know about it and didn't act on it? That's the question. So you have the initial issue, which of course is the switching of the water pipes from where they were before into the Flint River, and not treating the pipes for leaching so that that lead got into the water. That's the initial thing that happened that obviously caused all the issues. The big question about this particular lawsuit is likely going to be about how much did the governor know and when did he know it? Did he know about it 3 weeks beforehand, 4 weeks beforehand? That's going to be something that's going to be very interesting to hear. But this is something serious. And yes, the Attorney General here in Michigan is serious about these charges. I will say the attorney for Mr. Snyder, Andrew, he basically is all but calling this a witch hunt. He's saying it's all for political motives, and he's disappointed that the AG would do this.
And Roop, just last question for you. You know, for those who might not be familiar with this, 5 years, 5, 6 years is a long time to be removed from this story, but kind of give us a sense of, how really this devastated Flint. It was very embarrassing for Michigan state officials. Can you walk us through kind of a chronology and history of the crisis itself?
Yeah, it certainly was a very, very sad time. I think 2014 is when the initial switching of the water source happened. And when that happened, of course, soon after we learned about the devastating effects to 100,000 people in a primarily black city in America. A lot of people called it environmental racism. People are calling it all kinds of things. And back then, it really brought attention to how many issues we have when it comes to infrastructure in this country. But not only that, when it comes to how quickly a government wants to save a dime. If you think about it, the city of Flint was under an emergency manager at the time. And Andrew, as you've covered the news here in Michigan, you'll remember under that emergency manager, it was advised to the governor, look, let's switch the water source here and plug in the Flint water instead. This was a source that was so bad that General Motors said we're not going to use that kind of water from those pipes because of what it can do to our machines. And yet it was being switched for people to drink. So yes, it was absolutely outrageous. And by anyone's regard, I mean, no one would sit back and say that this was a good decision. The governor himself in the 2016 State of the State address admitted that this was a failure at every single level of state government. So certainly culpability to go all the way around.
Yeah, Roop, I can remember, the thousands of water bottles that were shipped into the Flint area. Kids could not go to school, essentially, because the public schools there had that contaminated water. So, yes, so that's quite a stunning story today, broken by the Associated Press there in Lansing. Roop, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. 12 people died of Legionnaires disease, 90 cases in all in the city of Flint. And the long-term effects, excuse me, my earpiece just popped that. The long-term effects of what this is doing to children and their development, we have yet to see that because that happens years out. So certainly a lot of people keeping their eyes on Flint right now.
Definitely, Roop. Thanks for bringing us this story. One of the 21st century, at least, worst environmental disasters in the U.S. Thanks, Roop.
Good to talk to you, Andrew.